enjoys the poetry, there's a whole series of books and CDs that Martina will tell you about a little bit. So without any further ado, welcome Martina.
Thank you very much. Michael sort of thought of a theme here tonight, the language we dare not speak. And that's really appropriate because there is a language that we all speak in our heads that we don't speak out loud, that we don't say to anybody. And then there's the stuff we say out loud that we don't think about, and maybe we should. But for me, that's the foundation of poetry, those things that we dare not or dare speak. I'm really happy to be here tonight. I'm going to start with a poem about my family.
My mother told me this story 100 times, and I love it. It's a great story. My mother's eldest sister. My Aunt Lottie in Lorain, Ohio, risked her life to run outside and save her duck from a tornado. Everyone else had gone to the basement, and they called out, "Lottie, come on! Mama, hurry!" But she didn't care. She ran outside to save the duck, and by the time she caught it, the tornado was upon them. In the house, she ran to the pictures of the saints hung around her living room walls. She ran, the duck under one arm, her beads in one hand, from saint to saint, and her life was spared. She said novenas to St. Jude for a year. Then she cut the duck's white throat to make charmina, duck's blood soup, a dish her husband loved.
Maybe an homage to the old coffee houses in Greenwich Village, everybody I looked up the reason behind it. It's because when they were doing these poetry readings back then, they would do them in basements, and the people in the buildings upstairs would complain about the applause. So that's why everybody used to snap.
I didn't know that.
This next poem is from Late Night Radio, which is a book I began writing when I discovered a late night radio show called Coast to Coast. It's a paranormal show with all sorts of odd subjects like ghosts and shadow people and UFOs, things like that. I'm completely hooked on the show, and I found it suggested all sorts of poems to me. So this is from Late Night Radio. This is called Chakra, and Ajna brow. Ajna means brow. I know what a third eye is supposed to be, but that doesn't make me want one. First of all, it's asymmetrical. Second, it's always looking for the truth. It shows my erosion and the shambles I've made of things. I don't want my blockades dissolved in wisdom's acid rain. Buddha wants me to stop scavenging and start thinking with my spine. A third eye would help me do that, but I would rather not partake. I picture the white faces of some Charolais cattle, then alter the vision by placing a third eye above their nose. It's dreadful. They become monsters, which is what happens when any living creature rises up. After the Earthquake is a book of collected poems from 1996 to 2006, and this particular poem is called Women and Men I Have Loved Before I Loved You and Why I Loved Them. I loved Virginia because she was tan and had muscles and could run fast and played with the boys, and Patty because she wore a red dress with white lace and her hair was black and curled, and the little boys tried to kiss her. And Paul because he lived up the street from me for 10 years, and Neil because he lived down the street from me for 10 years, and Robert because he took pictures of drab and homely things, and Leslie because she smelled like apricots, and loved cowboy boots. And Edward, because where he touched me, he left stars instead of bruises, and put music where there was pain. I loved Ted because he danced so slowly with me I got sleepy. And I loved some poet because he was famous, and another poet because he was famous too. I loved my Uncle Al because he looked like Clark Gable, and had to have his shoes specially made, his feet were that narrow, and Sharon Stone and her gal Roxy from Basic Instinct because they were hard and sexual and didn't care what anyone thought. I loved Grace and wanted her for her sweet southern speech and knowing eyes. And I loved a songwriter because his hair was soft as black silk, and he kissed me as if each kiss would be his last. I loved Chrissie Hynde because I wanted to be her, and my cousin Terry because he was the only guy under the age of 45 on my vacation to visit family in Ohio. I loved Dory because she loved me, and Kelson because I was far away and no one would know, except Barbara, whom I also loved. I loved them all in the only way I knew, with my eyes and mouth and the terrible truth of my imperfect body. Later, when I had my fill of them, I slept and was led in a dream to you.
The first poem is Hunger. I'm going to read two poems from this book. The first poem is called
Intention. I want you to squirm inside this poem. I want you to know how black your passions can be. The tingling you feel when you consider caressing the ass of your exceedingly beautiful brother or sister, or both if you have both. That tingling is supposed to be reserved for anyone but relatives. Yet there you sit, hoping to conceal that which will remain unsaid. We've made a vocation of refusal. Our darkest wishes for how to end loneliness stay hidden. The images of what we would do to be warm stay hidden. The gray thorns that do not quench our sexual thirst stay hidden. The needle used between the toes to sate our appetites stays hidden. Our laughter breaks off like icicles from a tree branch, falls, 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 and lands with no sound. Even that cold silence is hidden. I won't point out war, how we live it, fuel it, make love to it. The laws governing our trespasses are not clear. We stand in shock at our blindness. We stand in shock at our leanings towards desperation. Underneath sleep, we move on all fours towards streets gone red in the sunrise. I am not explaining evil to you as I know it. Come in, sit, and listen. I am introducing you to your own violence, you see. There is nothing beyond that. We've all bitten off more than we can chew.
All right. You guys are great. This next one is called The Aging Game, and it has an epigraph that says,
How can I be out of danger if I'm not dead? That was spoken by the character Rachel Camera and is played by Joanne Woodward in the movie Rachel, Rachel. Anyone who's ever contemplated aging will understand this poem. It's called The Aging Game. I am supposed to be wise by now. I am supposed to be moving forward without fear, knowing who I am and where I am. I am supposed to be free of the shallow needs of people I don't really like but tolerate. I think I'm supposed to have learned a second language by now, learned more history than I got from school, mastered a skill or two. I ought to be past wanting to be sexy. I ought to be able to feel less frantic about my large hips maybe even be into them, accustomed to them, comforted by them. Instead, there are too many insteads. Instead of wise, I am as light-headed as a cricket. Instead of fearless, I hide my face from stares, become stiff with trepidation. Instead of knowing myself, I'm my own secret. My whereabouts are lost in an agony of shadows. The rest of it is the same. Instead, instead, instead. As for my body, I give it no tenderness. My shape feels cast in bronze, and I question whether I have any right to feel sexy. Often, when I want to drown in sensuality, I am afraid to look into my lover's eyes, afraid I will see myself reflected. Instead of a second language, I have learned to avoid mirrors. Instead of being skilled, I am foolish. In the matter of tolerating the intolerable, I do it as much as ever, maybe more. There you have it. Years only give you age. Age can only give you awareness of years. The entire concept is just one big itch that cannot be scratched.